Okay, we are live, brother. We are live, man. Brooks, one half of the Smokies Unforgotten Spirits tonight. We're a man down, but it's all good. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. What's going on? What's going on with Matt?
Uh, well, he's a very angry person right now. He was getting ready to join us, and he sent me a picture of a flat tire on his truck. And I was like, "Is it whole slashed?" And he goes, "It wasn't like that an hour ago." And I was like, "Okay, we're gonna leave it at that."
Ouch. Ouch,
So,
man.
but he's trying to get some roadside assistance at his house now because he has a bigger truck. So, and where it's parked at in the grass, his jacks can't lift the truck up.
That doesn't sound fun.
No, I'm gonna stay over here.
You call me when you're done, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is your third time on the show now. I
Yep.
believe this is the third time.
Yeah, yeah, third.
So people need to go back and listen to the other episodes.
Oh yeah, me
Awesome
and Matt.
episodes.
Yeah, me and Matt were joking the other day. We're like, oh man, we're gonna be like the what's the sports with Tommy. Like, all right, back to you with the weather.
Well, every time you guys come on, man, we always have a blast.
Oh
You
yeah.
you've got some incredible experiences, and I can't remember what I've called your episodes, man, off the back of my head because I
Uh,
name
there was
episodes.
the chase by a white gorilla,
What a
and then
name!
the Bigfoot bachelor party was a good one.
Yeah,
We still laugh at that one. That was
two
awesome.
of the probably the best names that I've come up with. Well, you guys have given me that, but I mean, yeah, the names are difficult. It's difficult to come up with
Oh
names.
yeah, I'm always excited to see what you're gonna call the episode. And I'm like, oh, cool, that's awesome.
If you say something wild and random at some point, it'll probably be called that.
Oh yeah.
But both of your episodes, man, have been awesome. So people need to go back and listen to them as well if they haven't already. I can't remember the numbers because I'm terrible with stuff like that.
I could probably find them
Uh,
real quick, but it
oh,
was like,
I'll put them in the
yeah.
show description.
Oh yeah.
But how you been, brother?
I've
What's
been good. Very busy with work. We're trying to get this group going. Me and Matt both went to the Bigfoot conference in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, this past week. So
awesome?
we met a bunch of people. Got
Cool,
got our
man.
name out there, and a lot of people loved us. And I was a little skeptical going at first because I'm like, I'm gonna show all this evidence to all these people, and then they're gonna make me go cry in a corner or something like that. But I mean, they made everyone else go cry, but everyone huddled around me, and I was like, this is awesome.
But the stuff you guys get is awesome. And what I find very interesting about you, man, is you and Matt, is because like you will send me stuff and I know you guys are quite skeptical as well. I
Yes.
know like you're the first to say it could be this, it might not be that, and you're like you don't just jump straight to the paranormal like I do.
No.
You guys and that's what I find quite interesting. Like you'll happily debunk your stuff,
Oh yeah.
but quite often you can't.
There's been a few where like I was showing this one guy at the conference this week, and I was like, hey, this is a picture that we've got, and I don't know what it is. And he goes, okay, I don't know what this is, and something I didn't even see in the picture. And he goes, I don't even know what that is. And I'm like, you're making my head, you're making it hurt. And he's like, but this. So he goes, it could be. It was the picture of the nun through the glass I sent you. And he's like, oh, it could be the wire panes in the glass. He goes, sometimes they can make it glare that kind of like a shape. And I was like, oh, okay, it could be. And he goes, it might be something, it might not be. And I'm like, okay, that's something that we can
Mhm.
say it might not be what it is. And I'm like, awesome, cool, I did my job.
It was a scary nun, that's what it was.
Oh yes. Uh, but yeah, no, our job is I feel like our job as investigators is you can't investigate without debunking your own self. I
Hmm.
mean, yes, it's great when you find something, but if you're going into an investigation or anything like it's gonna be this, it has to be this, it's gonna be this. Everything is a demon, everything is a spirit, everything's a jinn. That's not how it works because then your mind gets one wayed
Yeah,
to that one thing,
yeah.
and you can't let that happen.
You've got to stay open-minded because anything is possible in this paranormal world, as you know.
Oh,
For for anyone that hasn't listened to the previous episodes, that hasn't seen you on social media, your show, your YouTube and stuff like that. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourselves and what it is you guys do?
Uh, we're the Smokies Unforgotten Spirits, a newer group. We're going on our second year as a group come September. So that's like a month away. Me and my buddy Matt, who's usually here with me, we started this group because we were best friends for a few years, and we didn't know we had this love for cryptids and paranormal. And then one day we were just talking, and we're like, "Hey, let's join a group." Well, that went into like, oh, there's memberships for a lot of these groups. So we were like, screw that, we're gonna we're gonna make our own, and that's kind of what we do. And everything we do is kind of self-taught or taught from other similar groups, and we try other different tactics to investigate the paranormal. Like we bring a parrot every once in a while to try as a parrot spirit box, as we call it.
An actual parrot.
A parrot, yeah. Matt has two parrots.
Wow. What is the vocabulary of the parrot? Can they say a lot of things
Uh,
or?
the one is very, very vulgar. She'll call you every little thing known to man and then some. She makes me cry a lot. Most of my scars on my arm are from her. And then the other one doesn't really talk a whole lot. He'll repeat some things, but it's mainly Tango. She will repeat a lot. There's a lot of stuff that, and she'll say it in the tone, like she'll mimic Matt's voice, my voice, voices she hears on TV because their favorite show is The Addams Family. So you'll be hearing
Oh wow.
them, and you're like,
That's
"What are you
wild.
doing?" Oh yeah. So and Matt will hear voices similar to his mother, which this parrot's never been around his mother, and he'll hear voices of things he's never heard before, or things he's never said, heard, or uh,
Whoa.
yeah.
So the parrot has never seen Matt's mum.
No, I'm not gonna talk for Matt. I don't know the full details. I know his mom passed away. I don't know when, but it was Matt got the parrot after. The parrot's a rescue too.
That's wild, man. How can you explain that?
I don't think you can.
That's There's no way to explain that, man, unless the
Yeah,
parrot was watching videos.
yeah, and
But even then,
it's a little wild.
that is wild, man. My wife's aunt has got a parrot, and it like you just said, it swears a lot, and
Oh yeah.
it's we'll say soccer, even though it's football. The soccer team Arsenal. It says Arsenal. So parrots, they say some wild things, but man, that's crazy. So the parrot is replicating voices of people that he's never seen, that he's
Oh
never
yeah.
come across. That's wild.
Yeah. And like I said, that would be a topic for Matt to come talk about with you when
Mhm.
we come back, if we come back.
Yeah. Hopefully Matt
Oh
comes
yeah.
back.
Oh yeah. He might end up joining us here in a little bit if he gets what he's figuring out,
Yeah.
but I don't see that happening.
You just sent me the picture. It looked pretty bad.
Yeah, he said it wasn't his tires all the way down to the rim on his driveway.
Not cool, man.
No.
Cars, cars can be very frustrating. Trucks, you know.
Oh yeah. Especially Matt's truck.
Yeah, man. So since the last time we spoke, so the last time we talked, you had just got married. Oh no, sorry.
Matt.
Matt had just got married. Sorry, man.
Yes.
You was wearing a dress at the wedding.
Yes. As one does.
As one does. Long story. You gotta go back and listen to it. It was a really cool episode, man. And it was like it was the night before the wedding or the days leading to the wedding.
Yeah.
Hence why I called it the bachelor party, something like that.
Oh yeah.
And
And that's
you
basically
was
what it was.
and the coolest bachelor party because you was having some wild experiences with entities, possibly Bigfoot. You had strange cars chasing
Oh
you
yeah.
and all sorts of wildness, man. It did sound like a hangover, paranormal
Yeah.
hangover movie.
It's interesting too because we'll get into it a little bit in a little bit, but it's made us question from the investigations from then, from at the same place to now, because we've only gone back to that place because since that bachelor party investigation, it there was a lot of questions with the possible Bigfoot, the possible whatever was happening. So we stopped going to other places and we just soloed this one location. So, and then more has brought up to like, okay, was it a Bigfoot or is it what we think it is now? Because we've brought in new people who don't believe in any sort of paranormal, any sort of cryptids or anything like that, and they're describing these things that make sense later. And I'm just like, you just fully described this.
Yeah,
And he
yeah.
goes, what's that? And I was like, we'll talk about it later.
So the rabbit hole is getting deeper.
It's a deep rabbit hole.
Can I just go back quickly to the parrots?
Yes.
So I've got a question. So was you getting when you take the parrots out to investigate with you, have you had the parrots like talk in a voice that they've never spoken in before or anything like that? Why they've been out on investigation?
So we've taken Tango out, I think twice, and the one we went up to Kate's Cove, and she didn't. She's a very vocal bird. She's a very active bird, and I have this video on my TikTok. When she got there, she was very back and forth. Um, it looked like somebody was trying to pick her up, and Matt made a follow-up video to it where it shows how she reacts, and like this is what she looks like when she's being picked up, and she's like flapping her wings and trying to step up, and it looked like somebody was trying to pick up the bird. And like I said, she was a rescue and she hasn't flown in 20 years. That was the one of the first times she's flown since, because it looked like something pulled her tail feather and she flew into the camera.
Wow.
But then she shriveled up, she got real quiet, and she stayed right next to Matt, didn't say anything, and it actually took her a few hours to actually get back to her normal self, where she started like cursing at us and calling us names. And
I don't blame her, man. You're taking us to these spooky places.
I
She's
mean, it
getting her
happens,
tail
right?
pulled. Yeah. That's what she'd not flown for 20 years and then she flew because something had
Yeah,
touched her.
yeah. She Matt was teaching her how to fly. And he there was a few times where she kind of, I would say, fluttered, hovered around the living room, but nothing big. But she flew, I would say, a good 20-30 feet.
Wow.
So
Interesting, man. And there was
we
no
had
one around her at
now.
that time.
I think the closest person was me, and I was behind the camera, so that was about 20-25 feet.
That's wild, man. That is wild. And I've never heard that, a parrot on a paranormal investigation. I think
That
that's
we
the
wanted to be the
first.
first of something.
Oh man. So since we last talked, I know a lot has happened. I've seen it on TikTok. You've showed me the pictures. Freaky stuff, man. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
What's been going on, man, since we last spoke?
Well, like I was just saying, we kind of just started going to this one location because we had so many questions, and we went back, and uh, the first time we went back, it was just me and Matt, and we had some good investigation. What's it called? A lot of stories, a lot of things happened, and it was very similar to the bachelor party. And we're like, okay, cool, we're getting movement in the woods again. So I'm like, okay, that's no. And now I was over to Spirit Box, and I was like, well, how many boogers are in the woods again tonight? And it came over none. Okay, and I was like, okay, as what's in the woods? Nothing. I was like, okay, cool. Is there any monsters in the woods? Of course. Okay, what kind of monsters in the woods? And nothing was coming out, and I was like, okay, this is kind of a quiet night, so maybe we're not getting what we're thinking we're getting. And all of a sudden it said dog, and I'm like, dog? What kind of dog? I've taken my dog, which he's laying right next to me right here, Finn, a few times, and he's a 90-pound pit bull, black pit bull.
Oh
And
wow.
oh yeah, and I've taken him, and he's been pet. He loves going. He gets all the attention from these spirits. And I was like, oh, what kind of dog? You like the dog I had a few months ago? Big dog. And I said, yeah, he is a big dog. And they're like, no, not Finn. And I was like, oh, okay.
What it's
Well,
saying this on the spirit box.
yeah, RSD's method, but yes,
That's wow. It said no, not Finn.
yeah,
Man.
yeah, not Finn. And we've taken him. I would say we've taken you several times, haven't we? Um, and they learned his name. They know So the one time we took him, I was showing him like, oh yeah, Finn knows all these tricks. I was like, sit, lay down, shake. And the spirit box was going crazy of like lay down, shake, stand, and he was like looking back and forth, and he was going to pews where there was no one sitting, and he was just staring. And I'm like, what are you looking at? And he'd look at me like, this guy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? This guy. Tilt his head, that tilt.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, he really likes being pet behind his ear. And he dropped to the floor like crazy, scratching his ear, like right where I told him. And I was like, oh, you petting his ear? And he's like scratching and he's like getting up and he's going back down, like because I feel like he wasn't seeing this person, but he was feeling it. So he was like freaking out a little bit. And I was like, okay, let's give him a little break. And he come up, sit right next to me, and then he was picking up his paw like he was trying to shake. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, he'll shake your paw or hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, this time they were like, yeah, no, not Finn, not Finn. And I was like, oh, well, what kind of dog is out there? And they just kept saying dog, 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 dog. And I'd never got anything out of that. And we're sitting here going, I don't want to say dog man, but can we?
Hmm.
And Matt's like, we can, but and then there's no real evidence that it's what it is. There's obviously something in the woods. There's something big in the woods. It's just we can't. It could be Bigfoot. It could be Mothman. It could be Dogman. It could be the Chupacabra. It could be anything. It could be a person. And we're just trying to get through. And not a whole lot happened that night. We packed up and we left. The next week we went back out and we brought a few friends, and they don't believe in the paranormal whatsoever. Like they watch the shows and they sit there and they debunk a fishing string. This is that. None of it's real.
So how do
And
they feel about you guys when it comes
um,
to your stuff?
they didn't think we were lying, but they thought there was a good explanation for everything. And I said, cool, awesome. If you can find the explanation, be our guest. And we went and things started happening on the spirit box, and we even put them with the headphones in the Estes method, and they were answering our questions, and you could see their faces slowly starting to realize. And this this upcoming part, this is I actually took my welcome mat out of my front door and I flipped it upside down because it scared me this much, because you don't welcome anything in the welcome mat up front door. And it made my wife really mad. She still yells at me, but I just bought the new welcome mat out there. But I took the welcome mat and I flipped it upside down so that way it doesn't welcome anything in, because it scared me that much. But this guy walked up because we blocked up the door because we felt like there was a presence outside and it wasn't very happy. So we pushed the pew across the floor, and we kind of barricaded the door a little bit. If something's going to come through this door, it's going to have to come out with a lot of force, and anything that comes out with a lot of force is getting shot with my nine. I told him, I said, I stood up in the middle of the room and I was like, anything that opens up this door is getting blasted and mag dumped. So let it be known, if you come through this door, you're getting shot. So if there was a person, if there was something physical, and you heard something step off the front step, and I'm like, okay, there is something out there. It could be this spirit that we see in the woods all the time, or it could be a person. Either or. And we start lighting up. Matt hit his keys on his truck and his light bar turns on, and we're not seeing shadows, we're not hearing movement. Okay, whatever's still right in front of the door. And I'm not gonna say his name, but he went up. One of my buddies, he went up to the door, and there's like a little hole in the door, almost like where a doorknob used to be, but they kind of like chopped around it so that way it can't be there.
Hmm.
And he looked in there, and he said what he described, because he screamed and jumped back like 5 feet. And I'm like, hey, what'd you see? There's an explanation. What did you see? And he goes, all I saw was a short person, pale white face, black obsidian eyes, and it looked like he had a hood. And I looked at Matt and I went, BEK. And Matt went, That's what I was thinking.
Whoa.
And he goes, "What's a BEK? What's a BEK?" And I said, "We'll tell you later. It's fine." And I said, "Remember the rule where I said we don't welcome anything in?" And he goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "We are going to extremely enforce that. Don't welcome anything in." And he's like, "Why?" I said, "We don't welcome anything in. I told you that. We don't welcome anything in because then they'll follow us home." The simple answer for him. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And the other guy and his fiance were sitting there. We're just like, "Huh?" And they said, "Just don't welcome anything in. We'll be okay." And Matt's like, "Yep, we'll take care of it. It's fine." Uh, and he's like, "I just want to go in." We're like, "It's probably not the best that we leave right now. Let's just sit down. We'll keep doing our investigation. That we're okay in the house. We'll be all right." And I set up the camera in the middle of the church. It's a church or a schoolhouse basically, and we start doing this Estes method, and it sounded like something ran into the side of the church, like the whole church shook a little bit. And I was like, "What is that?" And I have it on the video, but it almost sounds like me stepping backwards. It didn't get that whole effect of what we felt, but you see everyone go, "What was that?"
Mhm.
But it just felt like somebody like ran a truck into the side of the building. And I was like, "What is that?" And I'm trying to get this in order. There was an EVP too where we were doing the Estes method, and uh, he said more. He heard the word more, and there was the EVP said one more what? One more what? Oh, okay. And then there was an orb. So it was just like there was a lot of weird things happening that night.
Yeah. So just for the listeners, this is an abandoned old schoolhouse that.
Yes, it's an old schoolhouse, and it's used as a church every, I think, once or twice a month in the Great
Oh,
Smoky
okay.
Mountains. So they still do church services there, but it was originally an old schoolhouse.
Okay. Man.
And there's a cemetery outside and everything.
So your friend that saw the entity outside,
Yes.
was he a skeptic?
Yes.
Whoa. So
And after we got back in the truck and I told him, I said, "Oh, I think," he goes, "a possibility of what you saw was a black-eyed kid," which we, on our previous shows, we talked about how Matt's relatives lived in a cabin not too far away. And they, in their diary journals of the one, they would say, they would talk about these kids with the black eyes always coming to visit, and they would always want to come in, and they were very, very stubborn old ladies, and they would never let them in, but they never knew what they were. They were like, "Oh, the boys, they're coming back," and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're coming back," and they're like, "Yeah, they come back every morning." Like they're like, "Oh yeah, there's little boys that come and visit you every day," and she goes, "They do." She goes, "They always want to come in, and we never, or no, they don't get to come in our house."
man. And the black-eyed kids, they are probably out of all the cryptids and everything that I've looked into, and they are probably the freakiest thing out there, man. The black-eyed kids. I
They
really,
terrify me.
man, the pictures you see, the stories you hear of them, terrifying.
Oh
And I
yeah,
mean, for anyone that's never heard of the black-eyed kid, I'm sure most people listening have heard of the black-eyed kids, but for anyone that doesn't know what they are, they're very much like there's like a vampiric uh thing going on with them where they try
it's
and
a yeah, it's like an entity, vampire, alien. Like there's a whole bunch of
yeah. And it's
yeah,
normally them knocking on the door, normally at night, and they're little kids. They look like little kids, very pale,
yeah,
black eyes, asking to come in the house. Normally, I have talked to people as well where they've knocked on the car door and tried to get in the car. I've heard
yes.
that many times as well. They're always trying to get into. They have to be invited in by the
They have to
sounds
be
of it,
welcomed in. Yes.
because you never hear the story of someone that's welcomed one in. You've never heard of that. I haven't anyway. I don't know if there is.
Matt was telling me about one, and they usually, if you welcome them in, you are found unalived.
Yeah, yeah, they don't end well, and you don't
Yeah,
often hear about it, and that's probably why.
yeah. And a lot of these stories are actually being taken away from the internet. Like
Really?
the first recorded sighting or story of him is in 1998 at a movie theater of the Mortal Kombat movie or something like that. It was 1990, 98 or 99. It was the Mortal Kombat movie, but there was a reporter there, and he was sitting in his car, and the kids like knocked on the window and just asked if they could come into the car, take them back to their mother's house so they can get money to go see the movie. And they're like, "Oh, we won't make it back in time." And they kind of got aggressive with him. Like, you have to welcome us in. And he kind of just like took off, and he looked in his rearview mirror, and they were gone. But that's the first recorded one. But there are stories that, like Matt was saying, like, there's stories in their journals that they would write in the Smoky Mountains talking about these kids, and they used to be on the internet, but they're gone. So
Interesting.
it's like they're getting erased.
That's weird. I mean, the Smoky Mountains, that there's a lot of high strangeness that goes
Yeah.
on all over that part of the world, man, as you guys know.
Oh yeah.
I've talked to so many people from there, man. There's so many legends, you know, myths, laws, whatever there's so many, and there's
Oh
so
yeah.
much high strangeness that's recorded there. Um, the Black Eyed Kids, and I've talked to someone very recently as well that talked about a family member that had one of these kids knock on the door during 3 o'clock in the morning,
Oh
during the
yeah.
night. I mean, that's terrifying, man.
Apparently, there's a YouTube video of one of these kids on a Ring camera, and I haven't seen it yet. I haven't found it, but somebody was telling me there's a Ring camera footage somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, that'd be interesting to see." Like, I'm terrified to death of
Man,
them.
yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
even know if I want to
it
see
it kept me up for a week
it.
thinking about
Yeah,
this because I remember texting you, and I was actually texting a few others, and they're like, "You need to come on our shows," and I was like, I don't know. I don't even know if this is what it was. It's just terrifying the crap out of me. I just want to. I asked. I think it was you, um, Jason from AFK Discussions, and a few other paranormal investigators. I was like, so what's your opinion about this? And then you all responded the same way of, so when do you want to come on the show? And I was like, wait, that's not what I was asking. I just wanted to know your opinion.
man. As soon as you said Black Eyed Kid, I was like, I need to talk to you about this because it it is freaky. It is scary.
Oh yeah,
100% one of the scariest things, but it's super interesting.
yeah.
And the fact that you guys,
I told Matt, I said, hey, I don't know if I want to come back here. Like this thing, I said, I don't want to come back. And he's like, so this is what we're gonna do. We're going back because the only way that you're gonna get over this is by living it. And I was like, the only way I'm gonna get over this is by dying, and I don't want to die.
man, it's terrifying. Now, for anyone listening, if kids knock on your door at any time with black eyes, do not let them in your house. I know they might seem like kids and very sweet and innocent. From what we are talking about, from what we have heard, no, they're not. They're not. It's man, it's not cool. Wow.
Yeah. And that night didn't end like that either, too. The Estes method, for people who don't know what the Estes method is, we have somebody with their headphones and they're listening with noise canceling headphones to a spirit box, and they usually have their eyes closed so that way they're focusing on their one sense of hearing. So you
Hmm.
can usually hear things that you might not hear if it's just playing through the speakers. So they're over in the corner. They can't hear a word we're saying, and we're asking questions, and they repeat what they hear. And sometimes they're answering our questions, sometimes they're not, sometimes it's just gibberish. But I think these entities figured out that person is repeating everything that they're saying because they were like, welcome us in. And we're like, nope, nope. And then they were like, welcome. So Matt had the headset on at the time, and they were like, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. And they just kept saying it. They'll say it and then they'll do a few other things and then say it again. But they were getting aggressive. And at one point the door started shaking. And Matt took the headset off and he goes, they're trying to trick me. And he goes, I'm not going to give them the headset right now. And he goes, because they're newer, they're not going to be able to catch themselves if they say this. But he's telling me, he's like, they're trying to get me to. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, that's interesting. He goes, yeah, they're trying to get me to say the words welcome in. And They were like, welcome us in now. Like we have like open the door, let us in, let us in. And then at one point they were like, just come outside, come outside. You should come outside. But it was always pointed at one person. It was this person's name, this person's name. Hey, this person's name. Come out, come outside. You come outside. Just you. And we're like, no, we're gonna stay right here.
Oh man.
And it was a full moon that night too. For anyone that's thinks the full moon has effect, which we believe too, but like the energy of a full moon too is weird. Like because everything is lit up, but there's still a lot of darkness.
Hmm.
It's a weird explanation in the woods.
Yeah.
And this whole time the woods are echoing again, which the woods don't echo for anything. So, we'll clap usually and it would echo through the woods. We're not in a holler or anything like that. It's just woods.
Hmm.
So to hear an
That's
echo,
that's what you were saying on a previous episode, is that that's
yes.
a method you guys use when you hear that echo.
Yeah, we feel like there's an entity or something cryptid around because that echo is not always there. If
Mhm.
I go out there, it's 8:45 right now. If I go out there now and I clap, it might not echo. But as soon as, a certain time, usually about 9:30, 10 o'clock, or if we're sitting there for a while, it'll start echoing over time.
Mhm.
And then it'll go away and then it'll come back. So it's like there's a almost like a vortex in that one little area.
Yeah.
And we've noticed this in a few of our locations that we go into the woods. Like it won't
Interesting.
always be there. So it's not like, oh, you're just in a holler and it echoes all the time. It doesn't echo all the time. We
Mhm.
have video footage of it when it echoing and then it not echoing. And we still
And
can't explain it.
you guys are out in the woods a lot, so you know what you're dealing with. Like you know the
Kinda
forest. You
sorta.
know yeah. Well, when I say you know what you're dealing with, I mean, you know the forest. Like you
Yeah.
know the difference when something high strangeness is happening around you. You know it's out of the ordinary.
Yeah. And
So you was getting orbs. You was getting
yeah.
the house shaking. What else was going on, man?
Well, that night that was basically it. There was a lot, but it was a lot, and we were like, okay, that was a lot of stuff that happened. There's no way that this is going to ramp up if we go back. If we know everything's calmed down, I think it's safe enough to go to the truck. Let's pack up and go to the truck. And we left, and we're like, well, we don't think it can get any worse the next week if we go. So it's like, let's go back with the same mentality. Hey, don't welcome anything in. We're going to figure this out because doing research into black eyed kids, they can also mimic voices. They can also mimic sounds. They can also manipulate things. And I'm like, okay, so let's go back to the Bigfoot bachelor party. Were we hearing the whole time? Were we hearing these things? Or was it a Bigfoot or now a dog man? But there, the spirit box at the time was saying booger. So booger usually represents a Bigfoot. So we're sitting here trying to investigate and do all this stuff, and we have a spirit named Billy who usually doesn't fib or joke around with us. He kind of gets right to the point. This is the number. This is what I we're like cool. But we try to talk to him now, and then there's other entities, and you can hear it on the spirit box talking over him. You'll hear his answer, but then hear another answer over it.
And how can you explain that? Like,
It's weird because Matt had the headphones on, and at one point I was sitting there. I was like, "Hey Billy," I said, "You can come talk to me." I said, and I said, "You come talk to me," and everything like that. And he goes, "No, he can't." Yes, yes, he can. And at one point he said he heard a child crying on it, and he was just like, "I can't listen to this." And Matt's a newly father, so it kind of gets to him when
mhm,
especially when he hears a kid crying.
mhm.
So he's like, "Somebody needs to take this headset." He goes, "I think there's a kid crying on it, and I can't take it." So I was like, Jesus, what's I said, I've never gotten emotional over a spirit before. I said, but don't hurt my Billy. Billy's cool.
So would you say Billy's like a spirit guide to you?
So this is a stretch and it's a big stretch. But for anyone listening that doesn't know, I said me and my wife about a year ago went through a miscarriage and we lost a baby. At the time, she thought this uh, baby was a boy, and Billy was not one of our names, obviously, but about the time it happened, I needed to clear my head. I needed to get out. And so Matt took us out. We went out, and that's when we met Billy. And Billy's been really attached to me ever since. So it's a stretch, but we think there's something there, or there's something that's trying to get closer to me.
Mhm.
Either way, but that's kind of where we're at. But he's always been really close to me. I
Mhm.
feel like he's followed me home. I think he's went back to Greenbrier at times. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. No, you have told me that before, man. Yeah.
yeah. And there's times where it's weird though, because something that you can't see, how do you know it's that entity? And I'm going to get to that here in a second, but it's like, okay, we're talking to Billy and Billy's answering all of our questions. All of a sudden, something is talking over it and then answering for Billy. And I think I talked about it on our first episode, but we went to Brushy Mountain and I got into a fight with a spirit named Robert. Robert left me black and blue, cool. We talked, we fought. I make TikToks all the time, so I'm gonna go back this September and fight him. I mean,
You're crazy, bro.
I mean, that's not normal.
You're braver than me, man. That's for sure.
That's not normal. That's normal, right? But we packed up that night and we came back the next night, like I said, or the next week. Like I said, we're like, there's no way it could get worse. We're going into this investigation, and I said, who am I talking to right now? And I said, because I'm not too happy that you're talking over Billy. And they're like, Brooks, you know who's talking to you right now. And I said, no, who's talking to me? And they're like, you know who? And I went, what's your name? And he goes, it's Robert. And I was like, there's no shot it's Robert. And I said, Robert's in Brushy. I said, you are 2 hours away, and there's no way. And if any of the listeners listen to that episode where the Estes method, he called me a bitch multiple times really quickly, like almost like he was singing the song, like Brooks is a bitch, And he said that on the Estes method 3 times in a row. And I was like, and he goes, I told you. But also
Man.
we're also having these entities that we're feeling like they're outside and they're trying to get welcomed in again. So we're back to this loop. Because how much do these know? Like, can they read your mind? Can they know what the past? How long have they been there? How long have they been following you? How much do they know? And if this is a black eyed kid, can they read my mind? Do they know my past? Do they know I have a vendetta against Robert and I would fight him instantly? Because this Robert was like, come outside, come down to the water because there's a creek behind it. He's like, come down, just you, just you. I said, well, one, you're not getting me by myself. I said, I got a gang here.
That's wild.
and I antagonized it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, no, I said, if you're here, you're already here. You're not outside, you're already here. You're not welcomed in. You're not welcomed in, but you're already here. And he goes, I'm by the door. Open it. And I said, oh, you're by the door? And he goes, yeah. And I said, get close to the door. I got to say something. And the door was kind of propped open just a little bit. I slammed it shut. And he goes, ow, that hurt you over the spirit box.
Wow, man.
And I said, I probably shouldn't have done that because, you know, I'm always the one that's getting beat up or run, or, Matt will have scratches or bruises on him.
Mhm.
And that night, I got it got to me. It actually worked. They kept Robert, 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 and I'm like, I'm gonna get some good content now. I said, we're not gonna have to wait till September. The fight's gonna happen now.
Oh, man. See,
And
before you go on, sorry, man.
yeah,
I
no, you're
find
good.
that wild that a spirit box is saying personal stuff. I always find it wild when people say that
And
it's saying names, it's saying like things that you've experienced in the past and all sorts. I just,
and there's a lot of stuff I'm not gonna tell you about because there's a lot of personal stuff that it'll bring up with like me, Matt, like stuff that no one knows about. And
Mhm.
I said, okay, so me and Matt are sitting here
See,
asking
that's wild.
questions, and we have a person who is only known us for about maybe a year, 2 years at tops. And he's telling us information that we found out in 2013 or 2009, or he is naming names of family members I forgot about, or Matt would be like, "What are you talking about? How do you know that name?" And so it's weird, and there's no explanation for it. So there's a lot of like skepticalism, like how much is legitimate of a spirit box. At times, I think they could be debunked real easy, or it's just a coincidence of that's what you heard at that time. But there are certain things where it's like, okay, there is no shot that was just a coincidence. You just told me
Mm.
what hospital I was born at.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like that hospital hasn't been a thing since 98.
But even when it's answering things that like giving you answers to your question there and
Yeah.
then,
Like how
like
many fingers am I holding up behind my back and I'm standing 300 yards away? What balloon am I holding up and I'm standing in a different building?
that's wild.
it's
Like,
it's
how can anyone
it's
explain
weird.
that?
It's weird. So it's this personal information. It's freaky, but I don't see a problem with it. I mean,
Mhm.
I pick and choose what I post online. Obviously, you have to. I mean, there's a lot of slurs. There's a lot of things that we hear off this thing. I mean, but you think I'm in East Tennessee, and if these ghosts are a few hundred years old, that's the time they lived in. You have to filter this out. But it's like, okay, cool. So we're hearing these things and it makes sense for that time period. So it's like, okay, this is seems legitimate because I'm not going to hear those words on the radio station,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
especially in this day and age. You're not going to hear those words in the radio station. So, but then there's other stuff. It's like blue, 4, 8, 22. And I'm like, there's, that means nothing to me.
So
But
when you was on this second night you're out, are you with the same people that was on
yes,
the
they
first
came back
week?
out. They came back out, and they actually come back out with us the third time too. But they came back out with us, and it was pretty wild, but it didn't top that first time. And I was
So
like, all right, so we're getting somewhere.
yeah, that guy that saw the black-eyed child, did that change? Was he a believer after that, or was he still
I
skeptical?
I think he was a believer, but I think he still had some skeptic to a lot of other things. But that night, and I showed you this picture of he was the one standing in the cemetery, and there was a full apparition in the picture in the
Yes,
cemetery with him, and it was a
yes,
little boy or a little girl. It kind of looked like it was a kid though,
man. When
but
you
he
send me that picture, because you will send me a picture with no description. You just send me a
no,
picture, and I'll see it, and I'll normally see what you're showing me. But there was just I saw that straight away. There was no denying it. That
no,
was the shape of a child,
yeah,
and I was
and
like,
then it's in one of our other pictures too, but there's other pictures of that same location where there's nothing there.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, there was something there. He said he saw something, but I'm like, okay, he's excited. He is tricking his head now. But there was times where he got really excited. So we're like, okay, cool, just settle down because now you're trying to see things that may actually not be there.
Mhm.
And we kind of gave him a grain of salt that night, and then we went back and looked at the footage, and sure enough, there was there was a kid right next to him.
Yeah. That picture's wild, man. You put that out. I'm pretty
Yeah, I
sure
put
you've
that one
shared.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so people can see that on
Yes.
your socials.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think you
wild.
actually shared it too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, that one that
Wild, man.
and like I said, that was the whole top of it. Like I said, we got the fight with Robert again, and I was like, cool, awesome. This is funny, haha. And we packed up, we went home. Another week went by. We're like, all right, let's go out again. And we invited the same people out. And there was a lot of aggressiveness. The door was shaking again. They were trying to get us to welcome in, the same sorts. And they were like, you should go down to the creek. And it's weird because usually when they want us to go down the creek, it's usually alone. Or they don't want us to go down to the creek at all. Like, don't go down there. Don't go down there. There's a monster down there. Don't go down there. But it wasn't usually when they don't want us, or then you feel an evil or an angry presence. We didn't feel that night. So we thought it was weird that they wanted us to come down then, because we were talking to these kids, and there was a little bit of aggressiveness, but not. not anything that's a few months ago that would be alarming. And we're like, okay, let's go down to the creek because they've never wanted us to come down willingly, all of us. And we went down, and they're like, yeah, there is something walking down the trail on the other side of the school, away from the creek. So they were getting us away from the school. And we're like, oh, what's walking down? He is. All right, we're gonna play this game again. Who's he? Him. Well, he's not him. I said, who is he? And they're like, he's a monster. He's a monster. Okay. I said, what kind of monster? We're getting somewhere. I said, is it the booger? No. Is it the dog? No. Is it a kid? No. And we never got an answer, but it was like he is walking down the path. And I said, is it Robert? And there wasn't a yes and there wasn't a no. And I'm like, okay, we're just gonna assume it's Robert now. No, Robert's out to get me. And we're joking around. And we spent some time down there. We're hearing, I think we heard a bear in the water because there's a lot of bears in the Smoky Mountains. I think we heard a bear, so we kind of got that smell of a musk. And it's about that time where they're trying to get as many berries as they can. So I'm like, okay, cool. There's a bear right there. Let's track back up to the schoolhouse. And we went in, we barricaded the door, and I was getting a little like stressed and tired, so I laid down on the pew that was there, and I was like, I'm just gonna lay here. It's kind of comfortable. I've done it before, and we're gonna do the Estes method. Well, they're doing the Estes, and I'm asking questions, and all of a sudden, I felt something grab my thigh and my shoulder and rip me off this seat. And I hit the ground, and I was like, "Ow!" And everyone kind of like jumped, and they thought I like something like a bat flew into me, and I like got scared and fell off. And I said, "No, something just grabbed me." And I pulled down my one pant leg, and there was a scratch on my leg, and there was a scratch on my arm. And I'm walking all around, and I was like, and they're like, "Okay, let's calm down." And then I felt something like a burn on the first burn was on my right hip, and there was it looked like three major scratch marks, but there was a fourth one there. There was four scratches on my right hip. There was three on my left, like 3 minutes later, and then there was one going from my chest down to my stomach, and it burned. There was also we couldn't see how many, but my whole neck was red at one point, but it burned.
Man,
And
brother. I mean, I saw the video because that's out there on your socials as well. I
yes,
saw the video, and you clearly get thrown.
and the first clip is the first time it happened because there was a second time that happened, and we're like, okay, this is obviously happening to you. Let's move the camera. Let's lay down again, and let's see if we can recreate it so we can see a better view of what happened. And sure enough, 7, I think it was like 7, 10 minutes later, same thing. I fell and I flew off.
Man,
And they went back on the camera and they're sitting there like, we're gonna see if you're faking this because they didn't believe me. Matt was like, if he's faking this, he would tell me. He would if we're just trying to scare these kids, he would tell me. And he looked at me and I said, I'm in pain and I want to go home. And he goes, okay, well, he says, we're just gonna sit here. He goes, because you need to calm down. You just my knee dislocates a lot. I had a knee
oh,
injury. I had a knee injury in the American soccer.
yeah. Oh
um,
man.
I had a knee injury. I don't have an ACL on my left leg, so my knee will sometimes pop out, and I had to pop in. But when I hit the ground, my knee popped out. I had to pop it back in real quick, and I was in pain. And he's like, just calm down, settle down. We'll figure out what's going on. And they're looking at the camera and they're like, there is no way you did this by yourself. Your shoulder and ass move at the same exact time. And he goes, and you flew 2, 3 feet. You would have to be the world's. I said, well, give me an Oscar, I guess. Then I said, but I didn't fake it.
Yeah. And the
Like, you
marks that you had were insane.
Yeah, and I was asking because I've asked a lot of people who've reported scratches and everything, and I was like, how long did your scratches last? I said because mine only lasted like 3, 4 hours and they went away. And they're like, mine was like there for days. Like yours only lasted a few. I'm like, mine only lasted like 3, 4, possibly 5 hours. I said by the time I got home though, they were gone. Like I still felt a
Interesting.
burn, but they were gone.
Interesting, man. Because the picture you put is like a red, like nasty
Oh
cut,
yeah,
man.
it looks like it's very irritated, almost like those garden hooks almost with the three prongs. It almost
Yeah.
looks like one of those like got me.
It looked very painful, man. That's what I'll
It it
say.
it it, it felt like I was burned.
Mm.
I used to work in a lot of iron work and I would get burned. It felt like that, like very hot burns.
Because all I can, as a ginger man, obviously I get sunburnt quite a lot, and that's horrible. You know, that
Yeah,
pain of the
it
sun.
wasn't like a sunburn burn.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
was
It was
weird.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you, so did you feel something grab you?
Yeah, when I was pulled off, I felt a full hand on my because I'm laying like this. So I'm laying with my head to the right of the building, and I felt it on my right side. So it grabbed me and pulled me off. Not it wasn't like a shove.
Hmm.
So it went over my body and pulled.
Wow. And it was like
And
two hands.
it felt like because I had my eyes closed too, and it felt like Matt grabbed me and just like effortlessly I flew across the room almost. Not across the room, but like 2, 3 feet.
Man.
And I showed this video to a lot of people at the Bigfoot conference, and there was this one guy. He's very blunt. He said he's been doing it for a while, so he's certified, quote unquote. But he legitimizes things, and people were showing him his showing these information. He's like, "That's a cat. That's a spider." And he looked at me, and he was getting all giddity. He's like, "This is awesome." And he's like, "This is awesome." And then somebody else, he would throw their phone and like ignore them. And I was like, "Oh my god, this guy thinks I'm
Yeah.
legit." And I'm like, "This is awesome."
That is awesome, man. Yeah.
and
Because I mean, I get sent quite a lot of stuff as well, and I love it. I love getting stuff sent to me. So keep sending it, guys. But when you send me the stuff as well, like I'm always like, wow, because you get a lot of cool stuff on camera,
yeah,
and you get a lot of good evidence. And as I said at the start, I know you're very skeptical as well. I know you get a lot of stuff, but you're very skeptical at the same time, and
yeah,
you'll be like, I'm not sure. Like you don't
yeah.
just jump straight to,
And when I posted this video of me, because I'm trying to do like, okay, yeah, here's the raw footage, but here's like a summed up version, also edited and explaining what we do, so that way,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't like how I do my videos, which I'm getting better at. But I put this video up on my like Facebook and everything on my personal, and I said I've made my grandmother cry. She didn't know any of this was real. I feel bad, but also it's like one of those things where this is what I signed up to do. I didn't sign up to get hurt or thrown around, but I said if it happens, it's what I signed up to do. And but she was crying, she was begging my mom to stop, get me to stop. My mom was like, no, and this is what he does. Yes, it's scary, but this is the way she goes, those stuff is not supposed to be real. Yeah, I thought he was faking. And I was like, don't know what to tell you.
Does this
And
worry you though? This does this worry you that you're? I know you had a fight with Robert, but
no,
does this
I
worry
don't.
that you're getting physically hurt now?
No, and a lot of people like I said this video out, and a lot of people said I need to sage myself, I need to go and pray, and there's a demon entity to me. I don't think it was a demon. I really don't. I think I wake up with bad mood sometimes. I'm sure you wake up with a bad mood sometimes. I just think this was just an angry spirit. I was in his seat. The Estes method said after I was in his seat, and he would move me if I didn't move,
Oh
and he did.
wow.
He did. And but I wanted to see if he had the energy or the strength to pull me,
Hmm.
and he did. But normally they don't.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Because
yeah,
from what we know, I know we don't have all the answers, but from what we know about this sort of stuff, is that is it's very difficult for an entity to do
to
that,
gain that
to,
energy.
to show themselves in full apparition, full bodied,
Yeah,
and to physically hurt someone,
yeah.
pull someone.
I mean, we feel like there's a lot of people who will feel touches, and we can see glimpses, or like a fog or a glimpse. And I don't think that. I mean, it takes a lot for them. I don't think it takes that much, but for something to full on, like it was like if you were to grab me and just yank me. That's what I felt. So like when I got up, I was ready to throw a punch at Matt because I'm like, what are you doing?
Matt's on the other side of the room, like, bro, it's not
Yeah.
me.
I was talking to him before we got on here because I was like, I said I was like I was laughing because I'm looking at the video, we were watching it, and I said everyone went like they jumped, but no one got up to check on me. I jumped and my buddy, we had two spirit boxes going. He had his going and they had the one with the headphones. And his said Transformers, and he's just going, Transformers. And I'm sitting on the ground going, what?
Oh man,
But
what was going through your mind, like as it happened, after it happened? What were you thinking?
during it, nothing. Like I just, it's one of those things where, it happened so quickly where the first time it happened so quickly, no one was expecting it. And yeah, I'm like, what was that? Cool. I just got grabbed. I want to go home. And it was like, okay, let's calm down. I know you're a little terrified, but let's sit down and see if we can get it to happen again. Because we need to debunk this, and the camera didn't see it, so they're just gonna call you a liar anyway. And I went, I know, but I want to go home. I don't feel good. I feel sick. I have a headache now. My back hurts. Um, my chiropractor bill is going through the roof. Um, and he's like, do you want to do this again? And I went, uh, yes.
Legend,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I said let's do it again. I said, like I said, this is what I signed up for. So I laid back down and I'm tensing up, and you can see in the video I'm holding my arm up and like moving my muscles up and grabbing like this, and I'm getting ready, and it's not happening. And the moment I do that, that's when it yanked
What
me.
was that? The moment you relaxed,
Yeah,
or
the moment I relaxed. And thinking from my head, I'm like, it's gonna happen any second. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And then I was like, it's not gonna happen. I think we're good. I'm gonna get up here in a minute. And as soon as I said that,
man?
and I had a pretty good, which I wear usually when we go out. I wear like these cargo jeans, cargo pants. I have my pocket knife on me. I can keep things in my pocket and the cargo pocket. So it's not, and they're kind of armored. So if I went through the woods a little bit, I'm not gonna get pricked or anything. And I had the biggest scratch probably from like the mid part of my butt all the way down to, I would say, a few, maybe 5 inches above my knee. So just a red scratch. And that's not what I felt. It felt like a hand, but I don't know if it's like it was a hand and it drug itself as it drug me across or what, but it was weird. Just I had one scratch going all the way down. But for the thickness of that jean, because it's not denim, but it's like a thicker core because it's like fireproof and everything for work, shockproof or something like that. I don't know,
Mhm.
but it's a thicker pant. So for something to go through that, I'm just like, I don't know.
So your friends that were skeptics at this point, where are they? What are they
Uh,
saying?
they can't wait to come back out.
Oh man, you got them
I said,
hooked.
oh yeah. And there was times though where they were afraid it was going to happen to them, or after they had which the one guy, he's kind of like my build. I'm kind of skinny, and then the other kid that came, he's more on the heavier side. He's like, let's see if they can move me. And I said, I think, listen, he moves me twice. That's a lot of energy. I don't see it happen again, even if I lay back down. I don't see it happening again. And he was getting upset it wasn't happening to him. So I'm like, because you want it to happen, it's not going to.
Hmm.
And I mean, right now you're just ticking it off. And I
Yeah,
said, I feel like we should stop. But he's like, I need it to happen to me. I am, no, no, you don't want this. I'm promising you.
yeah.
I mean, uh, would I live it again? Yes. Is it going to happen again? Probably. I mean, it might happen somewhere else. It might happen there. I mean, but as an investigator, this is what you're supposed to do. You have to try to figure out why it's happening. What did you do? What is it?
Mhm.
Like I said, most people are like, "Oh, you got attacked by a demon. You got attacked by this." I said, "I really don't think it was a demon." And everyone's like, "How do you not think it was a demon? It threw you across the room like a poltergeist." And I said, "That right there is why I don't think it was a demon, because you said a poltergeist. Poltergeist throws objects around the room. I wouldn't consider myself as an object."
So that's what you think this was, a poltergeist.
No, I think it was just a spirit, but a lot of people were like, "It's a poltergeist. It's a poltergeist." I said, "I don't think it was." I said, "If it was a poltergeist, I feel like our equipment would have been flying across the room, not me." I said, "But I mean, I had a knife in my pocket. I threw my knife on the side. I feel like that would have went flying across the room.
Mhm.
My music box would have popped off the counter." For me, I just think it was an angry spirit.
Interesting. I
And now
see why
I
you
could be
turned him
looking at it way
over.
wrong. Yeah, I said I could be looking at it all wrong too, but I mean that's just how I feel. Like I know poltergeist. I mean, there's things like, oh yeah, it could. I think you're looking at it wrong. It could have been, but I don't think so.
Mhm. Interesting, man. Well, you're the man that experienced it. You're the one that felt it. So, I think there's something to your gut telling you that. To, you know, that's it's difficult.
No, I think there's a demon at Brushy Mountain, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that or anything, because I know some of these places don't like when you call things a demon. But I think there was something there that was demonic. But that's the only place in this whole everywhere I've investigated, which has been dozens of places. I That's the only time I've ever felt demonic.
Mhm. Interesting, man. Wow. So, have you been out since the attack?
Uh, no, we have not. We are planning on doing an investigation. If Matt gets his truck fixed tonight, we're gonna try to do like a witching hour at somewhere different. Where I was like, hey, we haven't been to this place in a while.
Mhm.
Let's let that place calm down for a minute and
Yeah.
let my bones heal, and we'll go over here.
Man, you guys are
Because
braver than me.
yeah, I bought a REM pod of 2 weeks ago, and I've been wanting to use it. But
Yeah.
Matt and Justin just had a baby recently, so
Congratulations.
yes, and this kid's awesome. He'll stare at you and give you like a look of disappointment, and you're like, "What am I doing with my life?" But they've been dealing
Uh,
with the baby, so it's been harder
mhm,
to get out sometimes. And then next week he's moving to a house, so because he's in an apartment right now,
mhm.
so they're moving. So it's been kind of where what can we do and when can we do it? Plus,
Yeah.
my work schedule has been rough.
Yeah, man. You get out a lot, you guys, and you get a lot of awesome evidence.
Oh yeah,
And you're
and
going out tonight, so we could be doing another episode next week with
now, like I said, the sports report with Brooks and Matt will be a quick 5 minute thing, and we'll be all right back to Tommy with the weather.
I love it, man. I love it. So, did you have any more possible connection with the black-eyed children? Was there any more?
Other
Uh,
than us thinking like with the mimics, the voices mimic, because there are reports, not there are, but there aren't. There's reports of like it can mimic noises, the aggressive welcoming in or trying to get us to say welcoming.
mhm,
Um, the door shaking is a newer one for us, because like I said, we'll pull that chair over and then there's nothing to latch the door, so that's why we pull something to cross it. So it will hit the threshold and then hit the bench back and forth, which it could be the wind, but it's just weird. It happens at certain times and it gets aggressive and it stops. So but nothing visual, but there's definitely a presence of something. But that's always been the case.
yeah, super interesting, man. Brooks,
But
you've not disappointed again, brother.
I feel weird being the only one here. So I like when Matt hears because I know sometimes I'm like, okay, I just told you this story, but that happened 2 weeks later than what I wanted to tell you that happened 2 weeks ago. I'm really bad this
But
time. I have to start writing things down, and
oh man, I'm the same. Like, I'll lose track of when things have happened and time
yeah,
since I've
I
started
say
doing the
a
podcast.
lot, and I'm like I say a lot, and it's like I don't mean to. It's just at this point I'm like, where am I at? Where am I at in the world right
I
now?
know, man. I know. I'm with you. I know. You guys, you're doing a great job, and you're getting some amazing evidence. Keep sending it to me, man, because it's super interesting. You're out tonight, possibly,
But
so we
most likely, like I said,
we could
I
be
think
back real soon.
I'm gonna drag him out either way. I think. But it's weird too because this road to get up to the place that I'm talking about, it's a it can only fit one car, one truck, and it is a two-way road. And if somebody comes down, one of you guys have to back down, and it's all the way. You have to back all the way down, or they have to back all the way up. It's very rough, but that's most of the mountain, and especially get to some of these cabins because it's about I say a half, three, three-fourths of a mile up into the woods, so it's not like right off the road.
Hmm.
And we're driving, and Matt goes, "You cannot look out the window when you're driving because there is something moving with the trees, and it will catch your eye." And he goes, "We'll go right off the cliff." He goes, "But he goes always, and you'll hear something alongside the truck, but alongside the truck is a sheer drop of like 30 feet. Like it's at a slant, but it's like a whew, gone. You're into the woods."
Man,
And he goes, "There's always something." He goes, "For the last month and a half, almost from the last time we talked from the bachelor party, it's something like it follows us to the road." So now I've been recording us going to the truck, into the truck, and then as soon as we hit that main road, I'll stop recording because I'm waiting
interesting.
for something to run across the truck.
Yeah. Oh, man, super interesting, brother. I love it, man. It's scary stuff. Don't get me wrong. Black-eyed kids
Yeah.
getting attacked by spirits, but very interesting, man.
Oh yeah. There was something else I wanted to mention, and it hit my head as I was talking to that, and I forgot about it already.
Oh man, I
You
do that.
gotta
I
love
do
it.
that all the time. We'll
It was
save that for next time, brother.
Oh yeah, it wasn't anything major, but it was oh we found out recently that the national park is a no-fly zone. No-fly zone. So for no planes, no helicopters, stuff like that. And I was talking to somebody who used to work in the forestry of that area. He used to work as search and rescue in the woods. If
Hmm.
somebody fell off the horseback in the trail or anything, they would go up and drag them down and whatnot. But he said, the national park's a no-fly zone, right? He goes, "I was watching your video and I heard a jet." I said, "Yeah, there's jets all night." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "The national park's a no-fly zone because he said, and he could be wrong about this one part. I looked it up, and the park is a no-fly zone, but the reasoning I don't know if it's true. He said if a plane were to go down, it's not guaranteed they can go and get that place because if it were to crash somewhere where they can't get to,
Hmm.
so it's a no-fly zone. I think there's like an
Interesting.
area where they could, but the area we're in, he goes, it's a no-fly zone. And so I know there is a military base not too far away, but he goes, but for planes to be constantly over us, and we'll see like the blinking lights and everything in the sky, it's interesting.
That is
And
interesting, man.
so it's because
So even big commercial planes, you won't see.
you don't see those. It's because like with those commercial planes, you'll see them. I don't know how to explain it other than you'll see them even in the night. Like you like, oh yeah, that's a commercial jet. These ones, they're not commercial jets. They're I don't want to say drone, but you'll see something like that, but then you'll hear a fighter jet go over, which okay,
Interesting.
that's definitely military. But it's just weird because it's constant throughout the night. I know the military isn't running drills
Hmm.
constantly. I mean, there has to be a dead time. But I said,
Yeah,
we've been going to these places for 2 years now, and we've heard jets every single night. I never thought about, these are no fly zones. We never seen a helicopter or anything. We've seen the black vehicles, the blacked out vehicles of, hey, you can't come into the park today.
hmm,
Okay, yep. There's no plates on the truck. They're all blacked out. You can't see in. These people they'll roll down the window, be like, hey, you have to turn around. You're not coming to the park today. Okay, we're not going to ask questions and we don't want the answer to.
yeah. What are they normally wearing? The people that are telling you that.
They could be wearing like those button down Columbia shirts, like some almost like what a ranger would wear, but
Hmm.
the trucks are blacker than black. Like your Boston hat is like black, it'll be blacker than that. The
Man.
windows are dark. It almost like if you ever seen I don't know how other countries do it, but like the presidential motorcade for the United States. You
Hmm.
see those trucks and everything, and they have the big boxes and the antennas and everything, and then you have the pickup trucks and the SUVs. They're like that, and they drive and they park, and they'll have the local law enforcement or rangers block off the road, and then they'll go into the park. Now we've seen those guys before, and then if they and usually they'll block off the road, and then they'll go drive through, and then we're usually in the woods somewhere, This has only happened like once or twice, but they'll come up and they'll one car will pull up and he goes, "Hey, you have to leave the park." Oh, okay.
I wonder why.
It our guess is always like, oh, there must be a fire somewhere. They're trying to get people out because there's a lot of wildfires usually sometimes, and we'll just come out and there'll be two rangers and one will back up and they're like, "Yep, have a good night." So it's weird, but it goes along with the theory that I love that national parks are made for a safe haven for cryptids,
Yeah, that's where I am as well, brother.
which I love that theory.
Yeah,
There's a lot of conspiracies and theories that I've been into here recently that I'm not going to get into, but that one I love.
man, we'll save that for another time. But that there's definitely a lot of high strangeness around these parks, around the world. Like there's protected places for some reason. There's a reason for it.
And there's military bases in almost every single one of them. It's like, okay, nothing's allowed to be in them, but a military base can be.
Yeah. Oh,
And
interesting.
you listen to these other like shows or episodes, like with Tony's show, or and they're like, oh yeah, the dumbs and everything, and I'm like, it, you don't believe them the first time you hear them, and then you hear more and more, and then somebody like me who sees these black trucks, and I don't think they're the Men in Black, but like,
Yeah, there's something going on, man. That is for
yeah,
sure.
and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, is the president in? Is he a vice president in? Because they'll come in sometimes to do conferences or something like that. Like the one vice president 4 years ago came in and it shut down the whole park, and those trucks were around, and I'm like, okay, those are obviously government trucks, but these look similar.
Mhm.
That's the best way I can explain it. They almost look like the motorcade convoy, not the motorcade itself, but the convoy.
Yeah, super interesting, man. There's a lot going on, man, and I feel like I know that we're gonna get more from you, brother. More from you guys because
Not if I open my door and there's an FBI agent saying I said too much. So
oh, well, let's hope that doesn't happen, man, because
yeah,
that'd be a disaster. But brother, you guys are doing an awesome job, man. I know I'm finding it super interesting. Um, Thank you for coming back on and sharing it,
oh
man, and
yeah,
keeping us updated. Keep us updated with what happens next. Possibly
oh
tonight, there could be some action.
you're gonna wake up to some sort of message with me,
I
and you're
hope
either gonna be
so.
like, oh, nothing happened, or I'm just gonna send you be like, oh, so you thought something happened.
As long as you're safe, that's all that matters. But I want,
Ah man,
yeah, don't get thrown around again, man. I
I don't.
mean, it's probably going to
I'm
happen at
not
some
allowed to
point.
get shot at anymore. I'm not allowed to get thrown around. I'm running out of things that I'm not allowed to do anymore.
If you was a cat, you've had your 9 lives.
We're getting there.
Well, brother, I'm loving what you're doing, man. Keep up the great work. Thank you for coming back. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you guys?
Yeah, we're the Smokies Unforgotten Spirits on all platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, X, and TikTok.
Awesome, brother. The links will be in the show description. I look forward to talking very soon, man. I know you're going to be back soon. Can't wait for it. Keep up the great work, man. And yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. It was fun, a lot of fun.
Thank you, brother. Guys, thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, please share it where you can. That is a great way to support us. Check out these guys on their socials. The links will be in the show description. You can find them very easily. Guys, stay safe. We'll see you soon. Keep it freaky. Bye for now. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. It was like I said, it was a lot of fun. I always enjoy coming on the show.
Thank you, brother. I love having you. Stay safe, and I'll speak
Always.
to you soon.
Yep.